Now, I want to talk about the second game, which is the hunger chain simulation, right? Also known as the supply chain hunger game. This game simulates the competition, right, for limited supply. So it's a shortage game. I want to start talk about why hunger chain, right? What teaching needs, right? It addresses. Then I'll talk about learning objectives, right? Teaching plans, right? How to integrate the game into existing course structure. And I will share some feedbacks, and also let's play a few rounds. Now, the hunger chain is really inspired and motivated by the COVID-19 pandemic, right? We observed significant shortage, right, on groceries, household items, right, and medical supplies. And subsequent, right, supply chain issues such as panic ordering, hoarding, right, as we have all experienced. One biggest problem of supply chain shortage actually is waste, right? For example, the COVID-19 vaccines, right? So millions of the vaccines were wasted even as the shortages plague other parts of the world. So this is a typical supply chain problem actually generated by shortage, right? And they are important and contemporary topics for supply chain education. And students need to learn the causes and how to handle these problems. The teacher needs that this game addresses are really three things. The first is the newsvendor model, right? I'm sure everybody teaches this model, right? But it's hard to teach if you talk about probability distributions and things like that. And immediate students get lost, right? And the second topic is the shortage gaming, right? Which is happening not only in pandemic but in other situations when the supply is short. And finally, competition, right? Students, we tend to teach students how to make best decisions without considering, right, their competitors' actions. But in reality, right, students are not only optimizing themselves; they need to consider what's happening outside, what the competitors is going to do, right, in a game situation. So we create the hunger chain simulation, also known as the hunger game, right, for students, right, to learn by experience rather than by lectures, right? All these topics actually are hard to lecture but easy to play out. So let's play. Learning objectives of this game is shortage gaming and the bullwhip effect, right, including panic ordering, right, hoarding, and so on. Right, it also covers, right, supply chain competition, especially competition for the supply. So we're going to talk about the prisoner's dilemma, right? And also you can use this game to cover newsvendor model. Right? In this game, students will play the retailers and they place orders, and the supplier will fulfill the orders by rationing. There's the question, right? How to allocate the limited supply efficiently and fairly. Now we'll use the most popular allocation rule, which is called the proportional allocation rule, right, for the limited supply, right? So in this rule, if the total order is greater than the total supply, let's say you face a shortage situation, a retailer will receive X%, right, of the available supply if her order is X% of the total orders. Right, so essentially we'll calculate the ratio. That is the retailer's order, right, divided by the sum of all the orders. So as you can see, the more they order, right, the more they receive. It's very simple, easy to implement. It's actually commonly used in practice. The reason being, right, it's very intuitive, and retailers can voice out their needs because they know themselves the best, right? And most importantly, it's also fair and equitable opportunities for everyone. Right? However, if you look at this equation a little bit carefully, right, you will see that the ration I receive, right, also depends on how much you order. Right? So this creates a gaming situation. And so through this game, the students will learn the panic orders and hoarding, typical human reactions under supply chain shortage. right? And the possible supply chain broke down because of the wrong allocation of the limited supply, right? Where some people, right, are starved, while others hold surplus. Okay, the game puts multiple retailers, right, or student teams into a situation where they must compete for limited supply, right? And each retailer must consider other retailers' action before making its own decisions. That's the most interesting situation this game creates. So let me talk about teaching plan, and I will share the student feedback. And this is how we integrate this game into a typical operations cost structure, right? If you teach newsvendor model or teach decision making under uncertainty, right? You can use this game, right? So to help students learn most, I typically combine the shortage game with the newsvendor game, right? So I can hit two birds by one stone, right? So here is my typical game setup or classroom setup, right? I will start with the newsvendor game, right? Without telling students the newsvendor model. So I let them play by their intuition, right? Students try and error without knowing the newsvendor model, right? During the game, I tell them there is a magic number, which is the newsvendor solution, right? Then they just place that order. They will win in the long run. But this is going to arouse students' interest, right, in a newsvendor's solution or newsvendor model, right? And then after the game, right, I will sell the newsvendor model, and then in the discussion, right, relay back to their game experience, right? For example, if one team's order is close to the newsvendor solution, typically they're gonna perform very well. So I relay back. After that game, I will change the game setup, right, from enough supply to short of supply, right? So I will play the shortage game. Now in this game, students will try to use the newsvendor model again and their new learnings. However, it's not going to work, right, because of the short supply. So they will experience the panic orders, hoarding, the prisoner's dilemma, and the supply chain meltdown. Now, then they will understand the impact of shortage, right, which completely changed the game. Now, in the discussion, I will relate the gaming experience back to real-life examples, right, what happened, right, in a real life. And then I will talk about, right, supply chain rationing. How do we solve this problem? Typically, I play 6 rounds for the game, right? In the first 3 rounds, right, of the shortage game, students will only see their performance for each period. They will not see the competitive information, meaning, let's say, the aggregated, let's say, market total orders, right, things like that. It's like they play in the dark. They don't know what's happening outside.
Excuse me, Professor. Yeah. So this game can be played, you think, in the offline mode as well, or it should be in person, because you're talking about multiple rounds and each one should be back of each other?
Yeah, this game can be played offline as well. Offline, what you mean? Asynchronized, right? You mean asynchronous?
Yes, asynchronous. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
asynchronous.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We played both online and offline. Online, both synchronized or asynchronized. Yes.
Okay.
So you set up time for students to submit their orders, and then you wait until everybody submit orders before move to the next round. Right? You have to set up a time for students to submit orders. Yeah, for every round.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So again, in the first 3 rounds, and that student play in the dark without knowing what's happening around them. Okay. They only see their own decisions and their performance. So they are going to have a lot of questions, because if they order 100 and they only receive 1, they are going to start questioning what was going on, right? But that's the time you build up their curiosity. And so they're eager to learn, right, in the next 3 rounds what's really happening and how to make best decisions. right? Again, right? So, and when they play in the dark, they tend to apply the newsvendor solution, which they just learned. However, in a shortage game, this is not going to work, right? So until they realize that their profits, right, depends also on other retainers' actions. Then they start to speculate, right? Their competitors' actions, as things will get really interesting. Here's the example, right? Now, and the fourth round, I'm gonna show them the competitive information, right? And they are seeing, right, the total demand, which remains roughly stable, and the total orders, which is sharply increasing, and also the total supply chains, lost sales and inventory, right? At this point, they realize that their competitors' actions actually have much greater impact on their payoff than their own demand, right? They start panic ordering, and order goes and went up through the roof, and the result is, right, at the end of the day, the supply chain ends up breaking down with a lot of lost sales and lots of surplus inventories in the same time. Okay, now after the game, you want to show the game trajectory to reinforce the learnings, right? And the figure to the left shows the total supply remains pretty constant, right? Also, demand remains pretty stable, but the total order shoots through the roof, which is the panic orders, right? The figure on the right shows huge lost sales and inventory surplus coexisting at the same time, which is hoarding. And this is a perfect example of the prisoner's dilemma, right? Between telling truth and inflating the order, everybody will eventually inflate the order, although they know telling the truth is the best for everybody. Real life examples: why do they need so much toilet papers, right? So how do we handle supply shortage? Up to now, the class has experienced a real life disaster, right, in supply chain management. To complete the section, I would suggest offering students a solution, right, to resolve the disaster, right, before they leave the classroom. So I will introduce the fair sharing rule, right, which use the past shipments to allocate supply, right? For example, Walmart accounts for 10% of the past 13 weeks of shipments. That's reserved 10% of the supply to Walmart. Now, the benefit of this rule, which is called fair sharing, right, is that no order, so there's no gain, right? It also promotes the sales, right? It makes sure it provides a clear incentive, right, for the retailers to sell more, right? You can only gain more if you sell more, right? And the rule also likely assures that the supply is sent to the market where they are needed the most. However, this rule is not fair at all, right? Because bigger retailers always get more, so it's very unfair. It also disregards the retailer's promotion or forecasting actions, right? Could still cause a mismatch between demand and supply. The game is used in a large amount of different courses, like operations management, right? Supply chain management, procurement and sourcing, distribution logistics, wherever you teach newsvendor model or decision making under uncertainty, right? We use this game for undergraduates, graduates, and executives as well, but mostly undergraduate graduates. Now, the class format could be online, either synchronized or asynchronized or offline. This game actually won several awards. 2021 Design Science Journal of Innovative Education Best Teaching Brief Award, and it's one of the finalists in 2019 DSI Instructional Innovation Awards. Now, student feedbacks are overwhelmingly positive, right? So again, we assign homework for students after we play the game, and we use natural language processing to analyze their feedbacks. Okay, turns out about 90% of student comments were classified as positive, But there are 80% of them are negative, mostly about how to play the game. They get lost. So let me look at some sample student and instructor feedback. Students mention a lot about interactions and also critical thinking, right? And being proactive, right? And reflection of the real life competition. So the competition part of the game, right, really puts students, right, in a different thinking environment, right? They have to think not only about their own decisions, also about their competitors' decisions. Right, that's something they never experienced. Right, one of my actual graduate students. So this game helped the students improve, boost the student engagement in online class, right, and also help her achieve a better teaching evaluation. So let me recap and we'll play a few rounds. So the game is easy to set up. It's online gaming. Only need the browser. You don't need to install anything locally. And they offer practical insights through a hands-on experience. So students play and learn. You don't have to do any lecture. And also on an important and contemporary topic, right? That is shortage gaming, supply chain competition, rationing, and you can also use it to cover the classical topic, which is newsvendor model. Okay, so you ready? Let's play a few rounds. Right, here is the game interface. Again, if you need try it out, you can email me. I will set up. I'll send you the teaching deck and set up the instructor account. And also, there are a few videos I made on how to play this game. Very short videos, about a few minutes. So let me show you the game interface. Okay. So here we go. Now, this is my account. Let me just log in. Okay. Now, how many people would like to join us? You can write your email in the chat box, and I will just copy your email to this to the students box, and then we can start playing.
Professor, can you please tell us where we should go? Give us a link.
Oh, the link is the link of the game. If you after putting your email address and click start game, you will receive the login information from email.
I see. Okay, great.
Okay.
The game's free.
Unfortunately, it's not free. I have to be honest, because I have a cost. But what I can do is I can make it as cheap as possible. Because I'm setting up and running everything myself, I don't have overhead. A few dollars, that's it. Just help me cover my cost.
And it is going to be paid.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, the same question.
Is it per user or is it per school? So, for instance, is it Kingston University can then use it, or is it per user in terms of student? Kingston University.
It's per user. It's per user.
Per user.
A few dollars per user. Yes. Because my cloud fee depends on how many people play. Here we go. So let me count how many of that.
You mentioned here number of groups. What does it mean, groups here?
That means how many email addresses I have in here. How many students' teams are playing.
And they are only one team. I mean, they are not playing against each other, such as the previous one that we had, supplier and retailer, or they are all playing one role?
Yes, everybody play the same role, but they are competing for limited supply. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 9 teams here, 9 people here. You just need one email from each team. Number of rounds, let's play 6. We probably don't have time for that, but let's do that. And here are a few things you need to select for demand distribution. So we have a few options here. Continuous uniform. This is the easiest for teaching a newsvendor game, right? Or continuous normal, or discrete uniform. Let's keep the first one. And demand synchronization. Do you want everything face exact same demand, or different demands. Right? If it's asynchronized, that means different team will receive different demand. Right? Although all come from the same, demand distribution. And if the demand is synchronized, that means identical demand realization for all players. Now, here is a critical parameter you set to distinguish between a news vendor game versus a shortage game. Remember here, if you look at demand distribution, when the average demand is always 15. The average demand in every distribution is 15. Right? And here is how much supply you need for each player. You set for each player. If this number is smaller than 15, then you're going to have a shortage game. But if this number is greater than 25, that is the maximum demand, then you're going to have a news vendor game. Right? So use this single parameter to differentiate between news vendor game or shortage game. Then let's play a shortage game for now. Let's set it 10, much smaller than 15. Right? And here are the typical news vendor parameters, right? Sales price, cost. Oh, by the way, there's no salvage value. Salvage value is 0. And you can also set the maximum order, right? Depends on how crazy your students are, right? I typically set to infinity, but you can also limit, set a limit on that. And here, a last one is, this actually often happens in the game. Some student team may not be responsive, right? Or in time, they may forget about it and so on. So sometimes I will not wait, right? And set to not wait for the student to submit orders and that computer to take over, right? For example, I can set unresponsive, right, players order to their last order, right? Or if everybody is very responsive, just wait, right? First option. So here I'm selecting last option, and then I'm starting the game. So now what you have to do is check your email, right, to find the login information. They also have the website. Right. By the way, while you're checking your email, let me show you some of the other features in the game. So it's a very simple game. It's a one-page application, right? Now you can restart the game if something wrong with the game, or reset the game. Save the game. The game will be automatically saved, so don't worry about that. And here's the complete game information. That's what we see, but that's only for you, not for your students, right? Because the students is going to see, right, the numbers for everybody else, which is not supposed to be, right? They shouldn't be able to do that. Now, here's the competitive information, right, which is the total demand, right, total order, total supply, and so on and so forth. It shows the aggregated market information, and also this game trajectory graph. Now, okay, one more thing I want to say before I answer the questions. So, if something happens, the game stopped, and that's okay. You open your previous game list. Right here, you find all the games you played before, and you can show this game or reload the game if you want to, continue the game. It stops somewhere, you continue, or if you want to download the game information. The game data. Okay, yeah, it takes a little while to get it sometimes. And if you don't get it, please check your spam or trash. It may end up there.
Logged in. I logged in. I'm in the game already. I see the order. I see the demand.
Oh,
the sales.
that's because I didn't go to next round. I just click on next round.
I see.
Okay. So the instructor has the full control, right? You can control the pace of the game, when to move to the next round, and so on. Now, please submit order. Remember, this is a shortage game, okay? On average, I only have 10 units for each one of you. However, your average demand is 15, okay? All right, that's submit order. Let's see. Okay, now the people already submitted order. Great. Now, just for your information as an instructor, okay, you can see everybody's order here. Right, how much order is submitted? Wow, everybody's very rational. Okay, well, not everybody. But but in the game, please don't show this to your students, because they are going to see what their competitors is doing.
So you have to go from one round to another round by you. I mean, it's not something that it can do it automatically. I mean, we should log in every often time to just start the next round of the game. Yeah.
Yes, so you control the pace. You control, yeah. You have to wait. Everybody submit orders, or you don't wait. It depends on how you set up the game. Yes, but the instructor have the control. Yes, you're right. Okay, it turns out, you see, two students are not very responsive. So let's click on no wait, and then I can calculate. So the computer will take over these two students and do the calculation. Here we go. So that's the first period's results. We have profits and also cumulative profits. Right? Oops. It looks like this friend of us is making a lot more money, right? 130 than everybody else. That's great. Right? So he or she is taking the lead. All right, let's go to the next one. Let's try one more time. Let's see if you get better luck this time. So please, so this is how you control the game, right? Now this game can accommodate as many students as possible, as you like. But if you get a lot of students, you'll have to probably wait for a long time, right? Because, somebody is always going to be slower than others, right? Okay. All right, just in the interest of time, let me click on no wait again. So we'll let computer take over for those inactive students, right? So no wait, and then I'm going to calculate again. Okay, we'll do third round because I want to show you the competitive information. What does that look like? So this time, looks like our old friend still doing much better than everybody else. Look at this. The difference is quite big. Right? Somebody is making $90 and someone else is making almost $300. So one more round, we're done. Okay? Because I want to show you the competitive information. So please submit the order one last time. I usually set up a time for students to submit their orders. It could be very quick if you play, let's say, offline in class or online. Right? Typically 5 minutes will be enough. But it's up to you. You can also do asynchronized, set up time for students submit orders, which is fine. So in this case, okay, I'll do no wait again, and then calculate. Okay, here's the final results. Still, so this.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you explain, for example, one of them, how it's going to be happen? For example. For me, the demand is 7. First I ordered 15, then I got 7. But the ration for me is 5.36. The sales is 5.36. Why the sales is not as equal as demand? If I have demand of 7 and I have ordered 15, why the sales is only 5.36?
Okay, let's come back to that. That's a great question, because that's exactly the prisoner's dilemma. All right, so okay, let me go to the third round. You're here, right?
No, the second one.
The second round. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you're here. You order 15. Okay, but you only get 5. Why you only get 5? Look at somebody else.
But we do have, the supplier considered 10 for each of us. That's what you exactly set up in the game, yeah?
I see.
Is it correct, or is something that I missed? There's something.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't explain clearly enough. It's my fault. Okay, the 10 is okay. It's not that 10 is reserved for you. It's the average, I said. Meaning, if I have 9 a student team here, my total supply is 90. But the 90 is available for everybody. So I didn't reserve 10 for everyone. That's what I mean. I'm sorry, I didn't explain clearly. So this 10
So
or
now that from this 90, any of us would get according to the ration that we have.
exactly. That's what happens.
I see.
That's what happens. So you only get you place 15. You place order 15. Only get 5, right? Because your ration among all the orders, right, is very small. It's much smaller than 10. Because somebody else make place a big order. But what's interesting is that even if somebody places a big order, they may not win off because they may order too much, right? If other people didn't order enough, so actually it may end up with a lot of excessive inventories.
But for excess inventory, there is no penalty.
You just lost the cost, the money you pay to get that units. Newsvendor model, right? Okay, so we're not saying, I know I'm out of time, so but here you have all the secrets in this complete game information. But during the game, right, in the fourth round, I would suggest everybody to show the students, right, the aggregated market information, or which we call the competitive information. And here you can see that, right, the first round, well, demand is small, but in the next 3 rounds, demand more or less the same, total demand. However, if you look at the orders, they're sharply increasing, right? If you look at total lost sales and surplus inventory, they're also increasing. We're actually on the edge of a supply chain breakdown. And here is the curve, right, which visualize the results, right? Total supply here, right, constant. Total demand varies over time. Here's the total order, right? It's sharply increasing. And also this is the total lost sales and total surplus. Both of them are increasing. So our supply chain is actually breaking down. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed the game. Any questions?
And then you said, so if you want to make it like a news vendor, then we shouldn't have any limitation for the supply, yeah?
Yes. If you want to save this to be, this game is automatically saved. But let me save it again. Okay. Now, if you want to play news vendor, right, it's very simple. Let me just reset the game. That's it. Same group, right? Same student team. If you reset the game, it's going to keep you all the information unchanged. Okay, but here, you want to change this one to, let's say, maybe 25. You want to make sure you have enough supply for everybody. And why 25? Because look at this. The maximum of the demand is 25. Right? So in this event, in this setting, you will definitely have no supply, no shortage. Unless some students get oversensitive, they place a huge order or things like that. But here you also want to make sure students know about this. Right? So information plays a significant role here. They know there's a shortage versus they don't know there's a shortage. They're going to behave very differently.